The thin air hissed as the door to the High Council chamber slid open. Agent Crix stepped forward, his 6 legs moving in perfect harmony across the polished black floor. His outer shell gleamed under the harsh white lights. 4 senior council members sat at the raised platform before him, their compound eyes reflecting the glow of data screens. Crix stopped at the designated spot and bowed, lowering his torso until his primary antennae nearly touched the ground. He held the position for the required 3 seconds before rising. "Agent Crix," said Counselor Zeth, the eldest of the 4. Her voice crackled through translator devices around the room. "Your service record continues to be exceptional. 17 assignments completed with perfect efficiency in the last cycle." Crix's mandibles clicked once in acknowledgement. Among the Valerian Confederacy's elite assassins, he was considered the best. His carapace bore the gold marking of top-tier operatives, a distinction earned through years of flawless missions. "We have a priority assignment," Counselor Zeth continued. She gestured with her upper right limb, and a holographic display materialized. In the air between them, Crix studied the information with practiced speed. Target location: Space Station Orbital Nexus 7. Target objective: elimination and data retrieval. He scrolled further to find details about the target, then froze. His antennae stiffened in surprise. Species: human. "There must be an error," Crix sighed, his normally steady voice revealing a hint of concern. "The target is listed as human." The youngest counselor, Mrel, leaned forward. "There is no error, Agent. The target is William Carter, a human diplomatic liaison to the Galactic Alliance." Crix's inner eyelids blinked rapidly. "With respect, counselors, I request reassignment. Humans are known to be particularly ... challenging." "Your concern is noted," said Counselor Zeth, and denied. "You are our most capable operative, and this mission is of the highest importance." The 3rd counselor, a bulky male named Drav, tapped his data screen. "Our intelligence indicates that Carter has obtained sensitive information regarding our military capabilities. Specifically, details about our new weapon systems. This information cannot be allowed to reach Alliance Command. The mission parameters are clear," added the 4th counselor, who had remained silent until now. "Eliminate the target. Retrieve the data crystal he carries. Leave no evidence of Valerian involvement." Crix absorbed the information, but something felt wrong. The counselors seemed tense, even for a high-priority mission. He had completed many sensitive assignments before, yet this one carried a different energy in the room. "I will prepare immediately," Crix said, though his instincts were sending warning signals through his nervous system. Counselor Zeth raised a limb. "One final item." She nodded to an aide who approached Crix, carrying a small metal container. The aide opened it, revealing a tiny black pill nestled in protective foam. "Standard issue for any human-targeted mission," Zeth explained. Crix stared at the suicide pill. It was rarely included in mission packages, only for the most dangerous. Assignments where capture would be worse than death. "Is this necessary?" he asked, already knowing the answer. Counselor Mrel's mandibles clicked in irritation. "The last 3 operatives we sent after humans never returned. The one before them activated his emergency beacon after capture. By the time extraction teams arrived, he had revealed critical intelligence under their interrogation methods. Humans have ways of breaking even the most resistant minds," Counselor Drav added. "Their methods of information extraction are particularly effective against our kind." Crix had heard the rumors. All assassins in the Confederacy knew the unofficial protocol. When dealing with humans, death was preferable to capture. The stories of what happened to Valerian prisoners in human hands circulated in hushed tones during training. "I understand," Crix said, taking the container and securing it in a compartment within his exoskeleton. The pill would dissolve his neural tissue in seconds, if activated a quick death compared to what humans supposedly did to their captives. Your transport leaves in 3 hours, Counselor Zeth said. The mission file contains your cover identity and contact protocols. The usual extraction procedures apply. Crix bowed again and turned to leave. As the door hissed open, Counselor Zeth spoke once more. Agent Crix, she said, her tone softer than before. The Confederacy has complete faith in your abilities. Remember your training. Humans may be unpredictable, but they bleed like any species. The door closed behind him as Crix moved through the security corridor toward the preparation chambers. His mind was already processing the mission details, calculating approaches, planning for contingencies. But underneath his professional focus, a sensation he rarely experienced was spreading through his system. Fear. In the prep room, Crix reviewed the complete file on William Carter. The human had served as a diplomatic liaison for 3 standard years, with postings on 4 different Alliance worlds. His record appeared ordinary, no special combat training, no intelligence background. Just another soft human shuffling datapads. Between meetings, yet something didn't align. Why would such an average human require their top assassin? And why had 3 previous operatives failed? Crix activated the holographic disguise generator and watched as his Valerian form disappeared. Beneath the projected image of a human merchant, the technology would fool visual inspection and basic scans. For deeper cover, he would need to minimize contact with security systems. As he loaded his weapons, a neural disruptor designed to appear as a standard merchant scanner and a poison injector concealed in his wrist mechanism. Crix thought about the suicide pill. In 20 years of service, he had never needed to use one. The mission coordinator entered the room, carrying final authorization codes. Transport is ready. Your merchant credentials will get you through Nexus 7 security. The target is scheduled to remain on station for 48 hours. Crix nodded, securing the last of his equipment. One more thing, the coordinator added, lowering his voice. Counselor Zeth asked me to tell you personally. If you encounter unexpected complications, abort the mission and return. She said to remind you that you are too valuable to lose. This was unusual. Abort options were rarely given for priority missions. Understood, Crix replied, his suspicion growing. As he boarded the transport vessel, Crix reviewed what he knew. About humans. Physically weaker than many species, shorter lived than Valerians, lacking natural weapons or armor. Yet somehow, they had expanded faster than any other race in the Alliance, establishing colonies and trading posts across 3 sectors in less than a century. And they had a reputation. Humans didn't just defeat enemies, they converted them. Species that fought humans often ended up as their allies within a generation. Their ideas spread like viruses, infecting other cultures, changing how other species thought. Perhaps that was the real danger. Perhaps that was why assassins facing humans carried suicide pills. The transport engines hummed to life as Crix settled into his compartment. In 30 hours, he would arrive at Orbital Nexus 7. In 32 hours, William Carter would be dead. The data crystal secured. Simple, clean, efficient. So, why couldn't he shake the feeling that something about this mission was very wrong? The transport ship docked at Orbital Nexus 7 with a soft thud. Crix felt the gravity shift as the station's artificial systems took over. He gathered his merchant bags and checked his human disguise one last time in the reflection of the viewport. The holographic projection showed a middle-aged human male with graying hair and unremarkable features. Perfect for blending in, Crix joined the line of passengers exiting the ship. His fake identification was registered under the name Alan Brooks, a textile merchant from the human colony of New Montana. The cover story was simple but effective. He was here to meet potential buyers for his company's fabrics. The security. Checkpoint was his first test. A bored-looking human officer waved him forward. Purpose of visit? The officer asked, barely looking up from his screen. Business, Crix replied, his voice modulator perfectly mimicking human speech patterns. I'm meeting clients for my textile company. The officer scanned his identification chip and nodded. 3-day permit approved. Keep your ID on you at all times. Next, Crix moved past the checkpoint and entered the main concourse of Orbital. Nexus 7. The station was massive, housing over 50,000 beings from across the galaxy. It served as a major trade hub and neutral meeting ground for diplomatic negotiations. The perfect place for a human diplomat to secretly meet contacts, and the perfect place for an assassination. According to his intelligence, William Carter was staying in the diplomatic quarter, level 47, section blue. The human had meetings scheduled throughout the day, but would return to his quarters by the station's night cycle. Crix had memorized the schedule and planned to strike during that window. For now, he needed to establish his cover and survey the territory. He checked into his assigned lodging in the commercial sector and unpacked his merchant samples, actual textiles that would pass any inspection. Then he set out to explore the station, mapping escape routes and security camera locations in his mind. The central plaza of Nexus 7 buzzed with activity. Beings from dozens of species mingled, traded, argued, and negotiated. Crix noticed several. Humans among them, moving with the casual confidence their kind was known for. He studied their movements, the way they gestured when they spoke, how they carried themselves. His disguise might fool scanners, but behavior could give him away. A public announcement system chimed, and a pleasant voice echoed through the plaza. Attention all visitors. The Galactic Alliance delegation will be holding a public forum in Conference Hall A at 1400 hours. All station residents and visitors are welcome to attend. Crix's antennae twitched beneath his holographic disguise. This wasn't in the intelligence briefing. A public forum would mean Carter would be there, surrounded by security and witnesses. Not ideal for an assassination, but perfect for surveillance. At 1400 hours, Crix sat near the back of Conference Hall A, watching as various Alliance representatives took their places on the stage. William Carter was among them, exactly as his file photos showed. Average height for a human male, brown hair showing hints of gray, wearing the blue and silver uniform of an Alliance diplomat. The forum was about trade agreements between the Alliance and the Outer Rim territories. Nothing that seemed worth killing over. Carter spoke briefly, his words diplomatic and careful. He showed no signs of a man in possession of dangerous military secrets. When the forum ended, Crix followed. Carter at a safe distance. The human moved through the crowd with purpose, stopping occasionally to speak with attendees. His behavior seemed normal, but Crix noticed something interesting. Carter never stayed in one spot for more than 2 minutes, and his eyes constantly scanned the room while appearing casual. These weren't the movements of an ordinary diplomat. They were the actions of someone who knew they were being hunted. Crix followed as Carter left the conference hall and moved through the main concourse. The human took a strange route back to the diplomatic quarter, changing levels twice, doubling. Back and passing through crowded areas, only to exit through service corridors. At one point, Carter stopped at a public view screen showing station news, but his eyes were focused on the reflective surface, checking behind him. He knows, Crix whispered to himself. This complicated things. The element of surprise was gone. Evening came, and Crix decided to move his timeline forward. Waiting would only give Carter more time to prepare or escape. The diplomatic quarter had moderate security, but nothing Crix couldn't handle with his credentials and equipment. Using his merchant cover, Crix gained access to level 47. He carried a small case of textile samples, within which his weapons were hidden. The corridor leading to the diplomatic residences was monitored by cameras, but Crix knew their blind spots from his earlier reconnaissance. He positioned himself in an alcove near Carter's quarters and waited. 23 minutes later, the human appeared, walking alone down the corridor. This was unexpected, no security escort. Either very confident or very foolish. Crix stepped out as if heading in the opposite direction, timing his movement to cross paths with Carter. The poison injector extended silently from his wrist mechanism, hidden beneath the sleeve of his jacket. One brush against the human, and the mission would be complete. They were 3 steps apart when Carter suddenly stopped and looked directly at Crix. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" Carter said, smiling. "Though I suppose evening is just a construct." On a space station. Crix faltered for a split second, but recovered. Indeed, time becomes meaningless in space. "Not entirely meaningless," Carter replied, his smile unchanging but his eyes sharp. "Time is quite important when you're on a deadline." Crix sensed the implied meaning. He stepped closer, the injector ready. Some deadlines are more final than others. Just as he moved within striking distance, Carter's hand shot out with surprising speed, gripping Crix's wrist, exactly where the injector was hidden. "You're the 3rd one this month," the human said, his voice now low and serious. "At least the Valerians send their best." Crix froze. His cover was blown. The human knew exactly who and what he was. He calculated escape vectors and success probabilities. Both were unacceptably low. "Let me guess," Carter continued, maintaining his grip on Crix's wrist. "They told you I stole military secrets?" "That's what they told the others, too." The assassin remained silent, his free hand slowly moving toward the compartment where the suicide pill was hidden. "I'd advise against that," Carter said, nodding toward Crix's movement. "The pill. That's what the last 2 reached for." "Seems wasteful." Crix's mind raced. How could the human know about the suicide pill? How could he have identified Crix through the holographic disguise? "I'm actually carrying proof of Valerian biological weapons being deployed on Alliance worlds," Carter said. "Your council is trying to silence me before I can present evidence at the Galactic Assembly tomorrow." This information contradicted everything in Crix's mission brief. Doubt crept into his mind, a dangerous sensation for an assassin. "You're lying," Crix said, though he wasn't certain. Carter shook his head. "I have no reason to lie to you. But your council has every reason to lie to you." Before Crix could respond, he felt a sharp sting in his side. Looking down, he saw a small dart protruding from a gap in his holographic disguise. "Just a sedative," Carter explained as Crix's limbs began to grow heavy. "We need to talk, but somewhere more private." As darkness closed in, Crix's last conscious thought was of the suicide pill he had failed to reach. Perhaps the rumors about human interrogation were about to prove true after all. Crix awoke slowly, his compound eyes struggling to focus. The room was bright and sterile. He tried to move but found his 6 limbs secured to a medical table. The holographic disguise was gone, leaving his greenish exoskeleton exposed. He felt a strange emptiness in the small compartment built into his carapace where the suicide pill had been stored. "He's awake," said a female voice. Crix turned his head to see 2 humans watching him. One was William Carter, now dressed in a simple black uniform rather than diplomatic attire. Beside him stood a human female with short dark hair, wearing a similar uniform with additional insignia. The sedative lasted longer than expected, Carter noted. Their metabolism is different from the previous subject. The female approached, studying Crix with professional interest. "I'm Agent Diane Lewis, Alliance Special Intelligence. You're currently in a secure facility within Orbital Nexus 7. Crix remained silent, mentally reciting the resistance training mantras he had learned. Years ago. Rule 1. Provide no information. Rule 2. Admit nothing. Rule 3. Seek opportunities for escape or termination. Your cyanide equivalent compound has been removed and neutralized. Agent Lewis continued, holding up a small vial containing the black pill. We've been studying your species assassination protocols for some time now. You should know, Carter added, that your previous colleagues chose the pill rather than capture. Unnecessary, really. We don't torture prisoners. Lies, Crix finally spoke. Humans are known for their barbaric interrogation methods. Agent Lewis smiled slightly. That reputation has served us well, hasn't it? Your leaders use it to ensure your silence. The truth is far less dramatic. Crix tested his restraints. They were designed specifically for Valerian physiology, keeping all 6 limbs secure while allowing enough movement to prevent injury to his exoskeleton. Someone had studied his species very carefully. Why am I still alive? Crix asked. We believe in due process, Carter replied. And we believe you've been misled by your superiors. We're going to show you something, Agent Lewis sighed, activating a wall-mounted screen. These are recordings from Valerian military installations on border worlds. The screen displayed footage of facilities with clear biohazard markings. Valerian scientists worked in sealed environments, handling containers of viscous liquids. Crix recognized the security protocols. These were maximum containment facilities, used only for the most dangerous biological materials. These were taken by our operatives over the past year, Carter explained. Watch. The footage changed to show the aftermath. Planets with various alien species suffering from identical symptoms, hemorrhaging from sensory organs, respiratory, distress, neurological failure. The clinical footage was followed by casualty counts. Thousands dead on multiple worlds. Your council isn't protecting military secrets, Agent Lewis said. They're hiding war crimes. Crix's mandibles clicked rapidly. In distress, this ... This cannot be accurate. The suicide pill isn't to protect you from human torture, Carter said quietly. It's to ensure you never learn the truth about who you're really working for. Crix turned away from the screen. These images could be fabricated. Humans are known for their skill at deception. Agent Lewis nodded to Carter, who produced a data crystal, similar to the one Crix had been ordered to retrieve. This contains the complete evidence package, Carter said, including intercepted communications between your High Council members, discussing the weapons program. Would you like to see those too? Crix remained silent, but his antennae twitched, a sign of agitation that the humans likely couldn't interpret. You've been an assassin for the Confederacy for how long? Agent Lewis asked. 20 standard years, Crix replied automatically, then regretted the admission. And in those 20 years, have you ever questioned your assignments? Ever wondered why certain targets needed to be eliminated? It is not my place to question, Crix said. I serve the Confederacy. Carter leaned forward. What if the Confederacy is serving only the interests of a few powerful members? What if your loyalty is being used to commit atrocities? The question struck uncomfortably close to doubts Crix had occasionally felt, but always suppressed. The timing of certain assassinations, the types of targets, scientists, journalists, diplomats, people who uncovered truths rather than military threats. Even if what you show me is real, Crix said carefully, what do you expect from me? I am one assassin. I cannot change Valerian policy. We're presenting evidence of the biological weapons program to the Galactic Assembly tomorrow, Agent Lewis explained. Testimony from a Valerian operative would significantly strengthen our case. Now Crix understood. They wanted him to betray his people, his government, become a traitor to everything he had served for 2 decades. And if I refuse, then you remain in custody until the conflict resolves, Carter said. eventually to be exchanged during prisoner negotiations. No torture chambers, no execution. Why should I believe anything you say? Crix asked. Agent Lewis approached a control panel and released the restraints on Crix's limbs. The assassin sat up, surprised and immediately calculating attack vectors and escape routes. We're showing good faith, she said, stepping back but not appearing afraid. You're still confined to this room, but there's no need for physical restraints. Crix flexed his limbs, restoring circulation. The humans were either very confident in their security measures, or very foolish, or perhaps they truly believed what they were saying. We'll give you time to think, Carter said, moving toward the door. The evidence files are available on that terminal if you wish to review them. He pointed to a computer station in the corner of the room. One more thing, Agent Lewis added. We've treated 2 other Valerian assassins in the past month. Both chose suicide rather than hear us out. We respect that was their choice, but we hope you'll at least consider the possibility that you've been used by your leaders. After they left, Crix remained motionless for several minutes, processing what he had seen and heard. The room was clearly monitored, but he was no longer restrained. The suicide pill was gone, eliminating that option. He moved to the terminal and began reviewing the files. Hours passed as he examined document after document, recording after recording. The evidence was extensive and damning. Financial records showing resources diverted to the weapons program. Communications between High Council members discussing deployment strategies. Genetic analyses proving the biological agents were specifically engineered to target Alliance-affiliated species. If these files were fabrications, they were the most elaborate Crix had ever seen. And something else bothered him. They aligned with inconsistencies he had noticed over the years, but dismissed. The hasty elimination of a Valerian medical researcher who had requested a transfer. The sudden quarantine of an entire colony world near Alliance space, listed officially as a natural pandemic dot as the station's artificial day cycle dimmed to night. Crix faced an uncomfortable realization. Either the humans were telling the truth, or they had created a lie so comprehensive it might as well be truth. Either way, his understanding of who and what he served had been forever changed. For 3 days, Crix remained in the secure room, reviewing evidence and reflecting on his 20 years of service to the Valerian Confederacy. The humans brought him food suitable for his species and treated him with unexpected courtesy. Number 1 attempted to force information from him or pressure him for a decision. On the morning of the 4th day, Agent Lewis entered alone. She carried a data tablet and sat in a chair across from where Crix rested on a specially designed bench. The Galactic Assembly has been in session for 2 days, she said. The Valerian delegation is claiming our evidence is fabricated and demanding your return as a kidnapped diplomat. Crix's antennae twitched in surprise. Diplomat? According to their statement, you are Alan Brooks, a cultural attaché who was abducted by Alliance forces. She showed him the official complaint filed with the Assembly Security Council. They're using your cover identity. Clever, Crix admitted. They know I've been captured, but can't publicly acknowledge sending an assassin. Agent Lewis set the tablet aside. The Assembly will vote tomorrow on whether to impose sanctions on the Confederacy for the biological weapons program. Without testimony from a Valerian insider, the vote will likely fail. Crix stood and paced the room, his 6 legs moving in a pattern that helped him think. The past 3 days had been the most difficult of his life. Everything he believed about his government, his mission, his purpose had been called into question. What happens if I testify? He asked finally. You would be granted asylum in Alliance territory. We would provide security and a new identity. And my clutchmates? My genetic family unit? Crix asked. In Valerian society, individuals hatched from the same brood maintained lifelong connections. Agent Lewis's expression softened slightly. "We cannot extract them without risking war. But they would not be targeted unless they were directly associated with your work." Crix knew this was likely untrue. The Confederacy would almost certainly punish his clutchmates for his betrayal. It was standard policy for dealing with defectors. "Why should I sacrifice everything for the Alliance?" Crix asked. "Your people have been enemies of the Confederacy for generations." "Not enemies," Carter said, entering the room. "Competitors. And only because your leadership has portrayed us that way." He joined them, carrying a small device which he placed on the table. It projected a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with Valerian and Alliance territories highlighted. "Did you know that before the current High Council took power, our peoples were moving toward cooperation?" Carter pointed to several star systems along the border. These were joint colonies, shared peacefully for almost 30 years. Crix studied the map. "These systems are now fully under Confederacy control. We were taught they were reclaimed after Alliance aggression." "The aggression was manufactured," Agent Lewis explained. "Border incidents created by the Council to justify militarization. The same Council that later developed biological weapons." Carter deactivated the projection. "We don't expect you to make this decision for the Alliance. Make it for the truth, and for the thousands of innocents who will die if these weapons continue to be deployed." "I need more time," Crix said. "You have until tomorrow morning," Agent Lewis replied. "That's when the Assembly votes." After they left, Crix returned to the terminal and reviewed the files again, particularly focusing on information about the N2 joint colonies Carter had mentioned. The historical records confirmed what the human had said. There had been a period of cooperation, ended by a series of violent incidents that the Confederacy blamed on Alliance provocateurs. But the classified communications told a different story. The incidents had been orchestrated by Valerian special forces, designed to appear as Alliance attacks. The current High Council had engineered a conflict to consolidate their power and expand Valerian territory. As night fell on the station, Crix made his decision. The next morning, Carter and Agent Lewis returned to find Crix standing at attention in the center of the room. "I will testify," he said simply. Relief showed briefly on Carter's face. "Thank you." "I do not do this for you or the Alliance," Crix clarified. "I do this because truth must prevail. The Confederacy I pledged to serve would not use such methods." "Agent." Lewis nodded. "We understand. We've arranged secure transport to the Assembly chamber. The session begins in 3 hours." As they prepared to leave, Crix asked a question that had been troubling him. The other assassins who were sent after Carter, why did they choose suicide rather than listen? "Fear is a powerful tool," Carter sighed. "Your entire training program is built around absolute loyalty and the belief that capture by humans means torture and humiliation. The suicide pill offers an honorable way out. But you removed my pill before I could use it," Crix noted. "We've been improving our methods," Agent Lewis explained. "The first assassin bit his pill before we could stop him. The second activated his during initial questioning. You were the first we managed to secure before the pill could be used." Crix considered this. "So I am only alive because you were faster than my training." "Perhaps," Carter said. "Or perhaps you hesitated slightly longer than the others. Perhaps some part of you wanted to hear what we had to say." The journey to the Assembly chamber was tense. Crix was provided with a disguise, not a holographic one, but physical clothing that concealed his Valerian features from casual observation. The Assembly building was located in a separate section of Orbital Nexus 7, an area considered neutral territory under international law. Security was tight. Alliance guards escorted them through service corridors to avoid public areas where Valerian agents might be watching. Crix noticed the guards were heavily armed and extremely alert. They were treating this as a high-risk operation. The Valerian Delegation walked out of yesterday's session in protest, Agent Lewis explained as they approached the assembly entrance. But they've returned today for the vote. They don't know you'll be testifying. They will attempt to stop me, Crix warned, possibly with lethal force. We're prepared for that, Carter assured him. The assembly chamber has the highest security on the station. As they waited in a small room adjacent to the main chamber, Crix felt something he had rarely experienced in his life as an assassin: uncertainty. For 20 years, he had followed orders without question. His path had always been clear. Now he was about to denounce his government before the galaxy's highest diplomatic body. There would be no going back from this moment. "Are you ready?" Carter asked, as a signal light indicated it was time to enter. Crix straightened to his full height, his carapace gleaming under the lights. "No," he admitted, "but I will proceed nonetheless." The Galactic Assembly Chamber was a vast circular room with delegates from 87 spacefaring civilizations. Tiered seating rose from a central speaking area, designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Holographic translation. Systems ensured everyone could understand the proceedings regardless of language. Crix followed Carter and Agent Lewis through a side entrance. Conversation stopped as delegates noticed the Valerian assassin. Many had never seen a member of his species outside of official delegations. At the front of the chamber, 4 Valerian diplomats sat in their designated area. Their antennae stiffened, in shock when they spotted Crix. The head diplomat, a senior female named Tyrion, immediately activated her communication device. "They're calling for backup," Crix whispered to Agent Lewis. "Standard emergency protocol." The assembly arbiter, a tall being from a neutral species known for their impartiality, called the session to order. "We will now hear evidence regarding the alleged biological weapons program of the Valerian Confederacy." Counselor Tion rose from her seat. "We must object. This session is a violation of diplomatic protocol. The Alliance has brought a kidnapped Valerian citizen into this chamber against his will." Murmurs spread through the assembly. The arbiter turned to Carter. "Is this true?" Carter stepped forward. "This individual came with us voluntarily. He wishes to address the assembly." "This is outrageous." Tren's mandibles clicked rapidly in anger. "This is clearly coercion." The arbiter studied Crix carefully. "Does the Valerian wish to speak?" All eyes turned to Crix. This was the moment of truth. He could still back out, claim he was forced to come here. The Confederacy would welcome him back as a hero who resisted human manipulation. Instead, Crix stepped up to the central podium. His voice amplification carried his words clearly throughout the chamber. "I am Crix, Senior Elimination Specialist of the Valerian Special Operations Division. I have served the Confederacy for 20 years. He paused, letting the implications of his title sink in. 3 days ago, I was sent to kill William Carter and retrieve a data crystal containing evidence of biological weapons." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The arbiter called for order. "This is a performance orchestrated by the Alliance." Counselor Tiarn shouted above the noise. "This individual has been subjected to human manipulation techniques." Crix continued calmly, "I was given a suicide pill for this mission, as is standard protocol when targeting humans. We are taught that this is to prevent torture. The truth is more disturbing." For the next hour, Crix methodically detailed the Confederacy's biological weapons program, his own unwitting role in eliminating witnesses, and the systematic use of suicide pills to prevent operatives from being captured and learning the truth. Displayed his assassin's credentials and mission orders on the chamber's main viewing screen. Then he presented the evidence he had reviewed in his captivity: internal communications, financial records, and the most damning, footage of the weapons being deployed and their effects on civilian populations. "I have personally eliminated 7 individuals during my career who were connected to this program, Crix admitted. Scientists and officials who developed moral objections. I was told they were security risks. Now I understand they were trying to stop atrocities. Throughout his testimony, the Valerian delegation became increasingly agitated. Counselor TR attempted twice more to interrupt, but the arbiter silenced her. When Crix finished speaking, the chamber was completely silent. Then questions began. From various representatives, the Arcturian ambassador leaned forward, tentacles rippling. Why do you believe the suicide protocol exists specifically for human targets? Humans possess a unique capability, Crix explained. They can make you question everything you believe without using force. Our leadership fears this more than any weapon. They fear that mere conversation with humans can turn loyal Valerians against them, as happened with me. A representative from the Proxima Coalition asked, "What do you expect to happen now that you have betrayed your government?" "I have not betrayed the Confederacy," Crix replied firmly. "I have betrayed corrupt leaders who betrayed our principles first. The Valerian. People are not inherently violent or dishonest. Our leadership has led us down a dark path." As the questions continued, Crix noticed movement at the chamber entrance. 6 Valerian security officers had arrived, responding to Counselor Tren's emergency signal. They were not openly armed weapons or forbidden in the assembly, but Crix recognized them as fellow operatives from his division. Agent Lewis noticed them too and subtly signaled her security team. The humans moved to intercept the Valerians, preventing them from approaching the podium. After 3 hours of testimony, the arbiter called for a recess before the final vote. Crix was escorted to a secure room adjacent to the chamber. Carter joined him there. "You did well," the human said. "Better than we could have hoped." "The vote will go against the Confederacy now," Crix noted. It wasn't a question. Carter nodded. Sanctions at minimum. Possibly a peacekeeping force to secure the weapons facilities. "And what happens to me?" Crix asked. "As promised, asylum and protection. We have arrangements for you on Earth if you're interested, or any Alliance world of your choosing." Crix's antennae drooped slightly. "I will never see my home again." "Perhaps not soon," Carter acknowledged. "But regimes change, especially when their crimes are exposed." Agent Lewis entered the room. "The vote has been called early. The sanctions passed nearly unanimously. Only the Valerian delegation and 2 of their closest allies voted against." "And Counselor Tiern?" Crix asked. "She and the other delegates have been detained for questioning about their knowledge of the weapons program," Lewis replied. "The Valerian security team has been escorted back to their ship with orders to leave the station." Crix felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, vindication, and deep sadness for what his people had become under corrupt leadership. "What will happen to the Confederacy now?" "That's partly up to you," Carter said. "Your testimony opened the door. There will be investigations, diplomatic pressure, perhaps internal resistance now that the truth is known." After a moment of reflection, Crix asked, "Why did you risk capturing me? You could have simply eliminated me when I attempted to assassinate you." Carter smiled slightly. "That's not how we operate. And we believed you deserved to know the truth, as did the galaxy. Taking a life is easy. Changing a mind, that's the real challenge." As they prepared to leave the assembly building through a secure exit, Crix realized something profound. The suicide pills weren't just to prevent assassins from revealing secrets under torture. They were to prevent Valerians from experiencing what he had just gone through, the uncomfortable, painful, but ultimately liberating process of learning that everything you believed was built on lies. The final revelation came when I was shown that our most closely guarded secret wasn't a weapon or strategy, Crix said quietly. It was the fact that the Valerian leadership fears humans, not for their cruelty, but for their capacity to reveal truth. Carter nodded. And that's why assassins bring suicide pills when assigned to human targets. As they stepped into the transport that would take them to an Alliance vessel, Crix looked back at the assembly building. For 20 years, he had lived in certainty, following orders without question. Now he faced a future filled with doubt and difficult choices. Strangely, it felt like freedom.